All right, in this lesson we're going to talk about the mortgage application process. So some things that you're going to need to know when you get to the point in your life where you're ready to buy a home. Buying a house is probably going to be the most expensive investment you're ever going to make. So there's some things that you need to understand. Market value is the amount for which a house could be bought or sold for, could be sold for. And if you are a homeowner, you have to pay taxes on your property. You have to pay property taxes or real estate taxes, same thing. And those taxes are not based on the market value. They are based on an assessed value from the county tax collector. So the county tax collector is going to send you a notice of what the assessed value is, and that amount is the amount that you have to use to determine the property taxes, not the market value. Those two amounts will rarely be the same. Usually market value is going to be higher than the assessed value, which is good because the assessed value is what you use to determine your property taxes. And the market value is the amount that you could sell the house for. So you want the market value to be higher than the assessed value. So when you're making a purchase, you have to have almost always a required down payment. Okay, so you got to put so much down. And then the rest of the amount you can finance in the term of in the form of a loan. And those loans on a property like that is called a mortgage. Interest rates, you're going to be charged an interest from the mortgage company for loaning you the money. Basically what a mortgage is a mortgage company agrees to purchase the home in your name up front so that you don't have to come up with 100% of the proceeds or 100% of the market value right away. You come up with a small amount, the down payment, and then the mortgage company purchases the house in your name and you make a monthly payment. And they don't do that for free. They get paid for that. There may be fees. You're going to pay an interest rate. In order to do that, you're going to pay more back to the mortgage company than what you have borrowed. So there are different types of mortgages. There's, especially when it comes to the interest rates, there's a fixed rate mortgage, which means whatever the interest rate that you're going to end up paying on that loan is fixed for the entire time that you have that loan. There's also what's called an adjustable rate mortgage, which the monthly payment and your rate may change during the course of that loan. If you take out a mortgage loan on a property and you do not make payments as promised, then the mortgage company can take possession of the home, because remember, they've purchased it. They've purchased it in your name. But if you do not agree to pay them back, or if you do not pay them back as agreed, then they can come and take your property. They can foreclose on it. It's called a foreclosure. Okay? While you have the property and while you have that mortgage outstanding, you're going to be required to cover insurance on the property. So in case something happens, your roof caves in, or a tree falls on your house, or you get a plumbing disaster and it floods the property, you can have this homeowner's insurance that you take out. It covers any kind of damages. Maybe you get a fire or something like that. So you got to take that out while you have the mortgage loan. The mortgage loan usually run for a term of either 15 to 30 years. So that means you're on the hook. You're responsible for that loan over whichever course that you choose, either 15 years or 30 years. So it takes quite a few years to pay off these mortgage loans. Okay, so let's talk about some things that we have seen already in the past. Heather is planning to buy a home. She has some money for a down payment already. She sees a home she would like and computes that she would need to borrow $190,000 from a bank over a 30-year period. The APR, the rate, is 6.4%. What will be her total interest for the 30 years? We've done problems like this back in Chapter 4. First of all, you got to figure out what her monthly payment would be. So her monthly payment, remember this formula? Okay, monthly payment is equal to this big formula where P is the amount that we borrow, R is the interest rate that we're paying, 0.064, times 1 plus 0.064 divided by 12. with this exponent of 12 times t, which is the number of years, which would be 30, divided by this part of the formula. This is remember this formula, you're just going to plug and chug. So you're going to plug P in for the principal, which would be 190. You're going to plug 6.064 for the rate. Anywhere there's an R, so 0.064. And T would be time for 30. So you're going to plug all those numbers in. So the formula becomes this right here. The principal rate divided by 12 times 1 plus the rate divided by 12, all to the 12 times T power, and then over this. So this is just a calculator problem. You're just going to plug those numbers in and make sure you can get the number correct, the correct number out. So if you plug all these in, let your calculator do the work, you're going to come up with a monthly payment of about $118846 per month. Now the question was, how much interest is she going to pay over the course of the 30 years? Well, if this is her monthly payment, we need to figure out how many, if she pays this every month for 30 years, how many months would that be? So 12 payments per year over 30 years, so that'd be 360 payments. So 360 payments over 30 years. So to find out what she would pay total, multiply this amount times 360 would equal this, $427,845. Now that's what she's going to pay over the course of 30 years. And the question was, how much was her interest? Well, you need to take that amount and subtract the principal amount, what she borrowed. The difference in what she borrowed and what she's paying back is the interest. So you can see that over 30 years, if she borrows $190,000, she's going to pay that back plus this amount in interest, $237,845, which is actually more than what she borrowed. Okay, so if you think about this, just the interest on this loan, that's almost $250,000. That's just interest. Buying a home is an expensive thing to do. It's worth it, but there's these numbers there you have to take into consideration and know that what you're getting into. Okay, so Jessica and Daryl Delaware are looking at a house. They contacted the tax assessor to find out what the property taxes would be. In their town, the tax is based on the square footage and other features of the home. The classified ad describing their house is shown below. What is the annual property tax on their house if the town has a tax rate of 0.89%? So here's the beautiful thing about today's world, is that you can look up the tax assessed value for any property in the county that you live in. So all of these calculations that they're doing, we won't have to do that, okay? Because all you have to do is look up the assessed value from the county tax collector. And all of this came out to be 8586. So if their tax rate is 0.89% of this dollar amount, you would take this dollar amount, multiply it times 0.89, would give you $7641.54 per year. And I just realized there was a typo in the problem up here. It says, what is their annual property tax on their house if the town has a tax rate of 0.89%? And that should actually be 89%. So we want 89% of 8586, multiply 8586 by 0.89, which is this as a decimal, and you get $7641.54 per year. Okay. Kevin and Kathy have a mortgage with National Trust Bank. The bank requires that they pay homeowners insurance, property taxes, and mortgage in one monthly payment to the bank, which is quite common. So rather than just paying your monthly payment to the bank for just what you've borrowed, a lot of times that payment is going to include your homeowner's insurance, so that it's paid at the same time, and your property taxes. So that's all paid at one time every month, rather than having to pay these amounts in one lump sum every year. Their monthly mortgage payment is $1,233, and their semi-annual property tax bill is $5,206, and their annual homeowner's insurance is $1,080. So how much is the monthly payment? Well, their monthly payment just for the loan was $1,233.56. Their semi-annual property tax, so this is twice a year, is $5,206, and their annual homeowner's insurance bill is $1,080. So This 1,080 defined monthly, you just divide by 12, you get 90. So that's for the homeowner's insurance. This 5206 is semi-annual, every 6 months. So to find monthly, you would take this amount and divide by 6 and get 867.67. So now we have this 90 and we have the 867 to add into the mortgage payment, which was $1,233.56. So their total payment every month would be $2,191.23. So one thing to note here is even though your mortgage payment is only $1,233.56, if you include your tax bill and your homeowner's insurance bill every month, then that amount can go up significantly. It's almost double, to be honest with you. So, but you would rather do this and pay a smaller amount every month than try to come up with this amount every 6 months or this amount annually. They divide these up into monthly payments and then make it smaller and much more manageable. All right, let's look at this situation. So Tom and Lori, they're considering buying a house and are researching the potential cost. Their adjusted gross income is $135,511. The monthly mortgage payment for the house they want would be $1,233. The property taxes are $9,400 a year, and the homeowner's insurance would cost them $876 per year. Will the bank lend them $190,000 to purchase the house? So when you go to get a mortgage loan, the banks are going to use several factors, including, first of all, how good is your credit? Have you been really good paying back what you've promised to pay back when people have loaned you money? The bank wants to make sure that they are paid back. They also want to make sure that you can afford the monthly payment. So they're not going to loan you money if you can't afford to pay it back, because then it's just going to be a bad deal for everybody. So one indicator is it's called a front-end ratio, which is the ratio of monthly housing expenses to monthly gross income. So the front-end ratio is your housing expenses divided by your monthly gross income. Banks often want the front-end ratio to be 28% or less before they loan the money. So find the amount for property taxes first. So remember, the property taxes were $9,400 divided by 12. So this is per year for the taxes. Okay. Homeowner's insurance is $876 divided by 12, which would be $73. Okay. The monthly gross income, $135,511 divided by 12, would be this much here. We're going to put these values into the front-end ratio and convert the decimal equivalent to a percent. So you've got to take the new proposed monthly payment, $1,233, plus the property taxes, plus the homeowner's insurance, divide that by the monthly adjusted gross income. So right here they've done all that. They've added these three figures up and divided by this. And you get 0.185. Converted back to a percent would be 18.5%. So the front end ratio is 18.5%. And remember, we want them to be 28% or less. And that's way less than 28%. So the bank would say, yes, they can afford this mortgage. So just with regards to their income, they give them the mortgage for this much. Now that was the front end ratio. There's also something called a back-end ratio, which takes into not just account their mortgage expenses or housing expenses, but all their total monthly expenses. And total monthly expenses could be car payments, credit card payments, utilities, things like that. Bill and Terry are considering buying a house and need to figure out what they can afford. Their adjusted gross income is $166,988. Their monthly payment on a mortgage would be $1,544. Annual property taxes is this, $98.88. Homeowner's insurance is $1,007. They also have a car loan, $510 per month. They have credit card bill average $5,100 per month. Would the bank lend them this? Okay. So then we're going to talk about the back-end ratio, or it's another word for this is called a debt-to-income ratio. And this is the one that's the term that's more popular used. It's called debt-to-income ratio. It takes all your debt and relates it to your income, and they put it into a ratio. Okay, so let's find this debt-to-income ratio for Bill and Terry. So their homeowner's insurance was $1,007 a year, divided by 12 would be 84. Their property taxes was this much, divided by 12, which would be this much per month, $824. Their total monthly expenses are the sum of all of their monthly bills. So the proposed mortgage, property tax, homeowner's insurance, car loan, credit card bills, $8,062. So this is how much they would have outgoing every month just for those things. Again, that doesn't take into consideration utilities and food and entertainment and things like that. So the monthly gross income, $166,988 divided by 12. This is their annual income. Their monthly income would be this. We're going to substitute these values back into this ratio. So 8062, that was their total payments every month. Total debt divided by their income every month is 0.579. So the back end ratio is about 57.9 or 58%. Okay. So in a debt to income ratio, you want that ratio to not be so high. The debt to income ratio, the guideline for the debt to income ratio is not 28 like it was the front end ratio, but it's different. It's 36%. So debt to income ratio, you don't want it anything more than 36%. Well, they're at 58%. So what the bank is going to say is they have extended themselves too far already, and they are going to have trouble paying this mortgage back if they loan them the money. So the bank was probably not going to give them a loan for that much because they don't make enough income to pay them back every month, and everybody's going to get in trouble. So they probably would not loan them the money. So let's look at this example. So what if they paid off their car and Terry got a $12,000 raise? So if they paid off their car, this amount would go away. And if he got a raise of $12,000, then his adjusted gross income is going to go up. So before they made $166,988, but now they get $12,000 more. $166,988 plus another $12,000 would be $178,988. $178,988 divided by 12 now. So now they have a monthly income of $14,916. I'm rounding to the nearest dollar. So now this number here is going to change to this, and this number no longer includes that 510. So let's see what we come up with. So 1544 plus 824, because the mortgage details do not change. This goes away. The credit card is still there. So now we come up with a number of 7552. So now we have 7552 divided by the new income. Monthly income is 14,916. Let's see what we come up with. Divided by 14,916 is at 50.6% or still 51%. So guess what? Still not enough. So the bank still would not loan them any money.